Hey people, John here from Fast Films, and today we're going to go through a 2020 drama horror thriller movie called Cadaver. The opening scene of the movie shows some children playing around in a big room almost filled with heaps of clothes. The scene fades away as the children pick their choices amongst the several clothes. The next scene reveals a destroyed town with bodies lying around. A young girl, Alice, is seen walking through the hopeless town with her mother, Lenora, and father, Jacob. The trio soon arrive at an apartment they decide to use as their home. Later that day, Lenora wakes up from a bad dream and immediately goes on to check on Alice. Alice tells Lenora that monsters are trying to get her, but Lenora assures her that she is safe. During the night, Lenora and Jacob talk about their chances of surviving, and Lenora assures her husband that they have to hope for the best. As the camera turns away, a portrait of Lenora is seen hanging on the wall. Apparently, she was an actress before the unknown happened. The following day, the family sits in their home thinking of what to eat when Lenora hears a man, Arnold, announcing a play. Lenora goes outside to hear more about the play. Arnold invites people to a play that is to be hosted by a director named Matthias. He informs the people that a free meal is also included and the show will take place in the only building still in good shape. The building is known as the Hotel. Upon hearing this, Lenora decides to buy tickets for herself and her family so they can escape the realities of things just for one night. It's revealed that the town was hit by a nuclear disaster and every basic human need has been scarce since the disaster hit. Later that night, Lenora and her family make their way to the hotel. Upon getting to the hotel, Arnold stops them and says children aren't allowed to see the show. However, Matthias steps in and says he's ready to make an exception for Alice. He welcomes Alice to his Wonderland because of her name. Lenora and her family, including several people, enter the hotel and realize that the hotel not only has electricity, but is beautifully decorated. They all sit at the table and soon are served slices of meat, which they consume voraciously. After eating, Lenora also makes acquaintance with another family, Lars and his wife, Catherine, and daughter, Susan. Moments later, Matthias starts addressing the crowd. He tells them that the play will not be done on stage because the hotel itself is the stage. He reminds them that everything they are about to witness is staged. Matthias says in order to tell the difference between the actors from the audience, golden masks will be distributed to the audience and they are free to attend any of the actors' performances that intrigues them. Just then, a woman, Raquel, enters and starts off the play. The people start following the actors that catch their attention the most. Lenora and her family decide to follow Raquel. They follow Raquel to a room and they watch her argue with Matthias over their failed marriage. Raquel leaves the room crying and says she has to go to her room. When asked what her room number is, she says 405. Lenora and her family keep following Raquel, trying to figure out how her play will end. As they walk through the corridors, Jacob calls Lenora's attention to the fact that he can't see any of the audience again, but Lenora assures him that they must be busy exploring their own stories. Soon afterward, Lenora and Jacob lose track of Alice in the dark hallway. The duo gets frightened and starts searching for her but finds no traces of their daughter. Minutes later, they see Catherine running toward them. She complains that she can't find Lars and Susan. The trio decide to search for their loved ones together. Shortly afterward, Catherine enters her room and disappears. Lenora searches for her but only sees one of her earrings. Lenora takes a hard look at one of the paintings in the room and gets scared when the painting blinks at her. Jacob investigates but discovers that nothing unusual is going on with the painting. Jacob and Lenora continue their search and soon enter a room where they find one of their actors, Hans, acting weird and talking gibberish. Suddenly, he takes out a knife and slices his throat. The couple get scared and run out of the room crying, but Raquel walks by and signals Hans to stop his act and meet her in the ballroom. Upon hearing this, the couple is a bit relieved that everything going on is staged. They decide to follow Raquel again, and they soon find their daughter's teddy on the floor. Just then, Lars emerges and starts crying. He says he can't find his family. The trio decide to check the ballroom since Raquel is heading that way. Upon getting to the ballroom, the trio sees some men dressed in white overalls, and Lars suggests that they follow the men. Lenora sees one of the men walk through a painting, but when Jacob and Lars take off the painting, they find no doorway behind it. The trio continues following the men's trail and soon finds themselves in a boiler basement. They see the men burning some stuff and decide to investigate. They realize that they are just burning clothes. Jacob gets angry and starts blaming Lenora for everything that has happened. He says they wouldn't have come to the hotel in the first place if Lenora hadn't bought the tickets and assured him and Alice that everything is going to be okay. Just then, Hans comes from behind and holds a knife to Jacob's throat. It's then revealed that Lars is also part of the hotel cast. Jacob manages to throw Hans off balance, giving Lenora the chance to escape. Lenora hides in a closet where she sees a news article about Matthias's daughter dying in a hotel fire. After leaving the closet, she makes her way to the ballroom where she sees Matthias giving strict instructions to the actors on how to take care of the audience. Lenora watches on as Matthias screams at Raquel for speaking out against him. Just then, Lenora sees Catherine walk into the ballroom complaining of losing one of her earrings. Lenora quietly leaves and starts exploring the hotel. She begins to have hallucinations about Alice. While exploring, Lenora realizes that a new batch of audience is already arriving at the hotel to see the promised play. Lenora then goes to the room where Catherine disappeared earlier. She rubs her hand around the painting and realizes that a button is fixed on it. She presses the button and falls through a trap door into an underground tunnel. Inside the tunnel, she starts following one of the men in white. She soon realizes that the hotel is filled with trap doors, and that's the way the audience has been disappearing. Lenora gets to the end of the tunnel and sees a room. Inside the room, she watches the men in white cut people's bodies into small pieces, which are later served as a meal for the audience. She gets terrified and starts walking backwards, but gets knocked out by Lars. Upon waking up, Lenora finds herself hanging upside down. Matthias walks in and says he's surprised that Lenora lasted this long. Lenora asks about her daughter, and Matthias says Alice is gone. Matthias then offers Lenora a chance to join the actors, but she refuses. Seeing that Lenora isn't ready to change her mind, Matthias tells Lars to terminate her. As Lars prepares to do so, Jacob enters and tells Lars to give him the chance to talk to his wife. Jacob informs Lenora that he has joined the actors because there is no hope for them outside the hotel. Jacob tries to convince Lenora to join the hotel cast too, but she refuses. Just then, Lars takes a knife and is about to terminate Lenora, but Jacob pushes him away and cuts Lenora loose. Lars angrily punctures Jacob in the stomach and goes after Lenora, but she manages to impale Lars with one of the meat hooks hanging in the room. Lenora crawls over to her dying husband and comforts him till he passes on. Lenora then takes Alice's cloth and tastes the red liquid on it. She realizes that the liquid is sweet and that indicates that Alice is still Alice. Lenora immediately picks up one of the masks and decides to continue the search for her daughter. While walking around, she's attacked by Hans, but she manages to put the mask on him, thereby implicating Hans as one of the audience. One of the men in white comes in and breaks Hans' neck, believing him to be one of the audience. Lenora watches on as the men drags off Hans' body into the basement. Lenora then runs to the ballroom to confront Matthias in front of the new audience. She demands that Matthias provide her daughter or she will expose him. Matthias refuses, and Lenora starts telling the audience that Matthias terminates the audience. Lenora explains that the hotel and its performance is a plot to lure in and terminate the desperate people in surrounding towns and cities. Matthias selects a few survivors to help in capturing the remaining audience to then be harvested for their flesh, which is turned into the meals eaten at the start of each performance. With all of her explanation, none of the audience believes Lenora. They all believe that everything Lenora is saying is part of the show. Just then, Lenora acts on her feet, pulling from her past life as an actress. She makes a dramatic speech about finding her daughter, making herself appear to be the most interesting actor, and the new audience easily follows her. She leads the group down into the kitchen where they discover she was telling the truth. The audience promptly attacks Matthias and the others involved in the plot. Lenora asks why Matthias took her daughter, and he says she looked just like his daughter. Lenora breaks down in tears but soon starts hearing Alice's voice. She believes it to be another episode of a hallucination, but soon realizes that Alice is real this time. She embraces her daughter and leads her away from the hotel. She also informs her of Jacob's demise. The duo find the streets outside just as desolate and hopeless as before. And it's next to the body of a starved boy on the road that the duo stop and turn back to see a golden light shining down from above on the hotel in the distance. Thanks for watching, guys.